I never thought I'd be here, a foreign girl, an orphan, wearing a crown. It wasn't the life I imagined, but sometimes God puts you in places you don't understand, for reasons you can't see yet. The palace was beautiful, but outside these walls, my people were in danger. A law had been signed, a death sentence for everyone who shared my bloodline, and I was the only one with a voice close enough to the king. Fear whispered, stay silent, save yourself. But my cousin Mordecai's words rang louder. Who knows if you were made queen for such a time as this? The choice was clear, comfort or calling, safety or surrender. If I stayed quiet, I'd live, but I'd lose my soul. I told them, pray for me. 3 days of fasting, 3 nights of crying out to the God who placed me here. And then I walked toward the throne, knowing one step could cost me my life. But the kings I saw bend, the scepter lowered, the door to mercy swide. It wasn't my beauty, it wasn't my position, it was the hand of God moving through courage, and that courage saved a nation. You may feel small, out of place, unqualified, but God doesn't make mistakes. The job you have, the city you live in, the people you're connected to, you are there for a reason. And sometimes the reason isn't about your comfort, it's about your calling. This is your moment. This is your time. When fear says stay quiet, faith says stand up. Because who knows? Maybe your whole life has been leading a time as this. Esther's courage reminds us that influence is not about position, it's about purpose. God places us in strategic moments not just to bless us, but to use us to bless others. Fear says, protect yourself. Faith says, lay yourself down. And when you choose faith, the ripple effects can change history.
I left with a pocket full of dreams and a heart too proud to stay. Told my father, give me what's mine. I'm done waiting, I'm done obeying. I packed my bags, turned the key, chased the lights of another city. For a while it felt like freedom, till freedom left me empty. Money burned fast, so did the friendships I thought would last. When the noise faded, I was alone, eating silence and pig food in a place called rock bottom. No one saw me there, no one cared, but something whispered in my soul, you could still go. So I rehearsed my speech, not as a son, just a servant. Father, I failed, I don't deserve it. Feet blistered, eyes down, until I looked up and saw him run, and he ran to me. Didn't wait for my apology. He wrapped me in mercy, clothed me in grace, and kissed the dirt off my shameful face. He said, my child, you were lost, but now you're found. And he called me son again. I thought he turned me away, but love doesn't count steps, love runs. Grace doesn't lecture, it restores. Mercy doesn't ask questions, it embraces. No sin stronger than his welcome, no distance greater than his arms, no failure deeper than his forgiveness. You may have left, you may be broken, you may think you've gone too far, but listen, he's already on the road. He's been God is not just a judge. We must remember, He's also a father. And this father doesn't wait for perfection. He responds to return. This story is proof. No matter how far you've fallen, if you turn around, He runs. They said you're too small, too young, you don't belong here. But something burned inside of me, a quiet fire that didn't need a crown, just a cause while soldiers shook in fear. I heard the voice of mockery booming across the valley. He was tall, loud, unbeatable, but he messed up when he challenged the living God. My brothers laughed, they said I was arrogant, but they didn't know I'd been fighting giants long before this battlefield. A lion ate bear on in the field. No crowd, no applause, just me and God. And that was enough. I didn't wear the armor, didn't carry a sword. I just walked with faith and 5 smooth stones. Not because I was brave, but because He was with me. The giant mocked, I ran forward. The world held its breath, but the stone flew and grace followed through. Not because I had power, but because God was in the fight. He still is. Your Goliath might wear different armor, fear, death, cancer, addiction, shame, but the truth still stands. Giants fall when someone dares to believe that God is greater than what's standing in front of them. You don't need to be famous. You don't need a title. You just need to say, the battle is the Lord's. So pick up your stone, lift your eyes, step into the valley, and watch what God does when faith meets fear head on. Because the fight was never yours, it was His all along. David didn't win because he was brave. He won because he believed. And faith isn't the absence of fear. It's trusting that God is bigger than your fear. This isn't just a story of courage, it's a story of surrender. When you know who fights for you, you don't need to fight like the world does. She came to the well when the sun was high. Were empty, when no one would see her, because one more man, not her own. She was tired, not just in her body, but deep in her soul. That's when she saw him, a Jewish man alone, sitting by the well. And then he spoke, "Will you give me a drink?" It wasn't just a question, it was an invitation. And with every word he spoke, walls she had built for years began to crack. He said, "If you knew who I am, you'd ask me, and I'd give you living water." She didn't understand, but something in his voice felt like hope. He knew her story, all of it, and he didn't turn away. He didn't shame her. Instead, he offered her the one thing she'd been searching for: love without conditions, life without thirst. And then he said the words she didn't expect: "I am the Messiah." She left her jar. The very thing she came for didn't matter anymore. She ran back to the same town that once rejected her, shouting, "Come and see, he told me everything I've ever done." The outcast became the messenger, the rejected became the chosen, the thirsty became the one who overflowed. Maybe you've been carrying shame so heavy, you try to hide in the heat of the day. Maybe you think if God really knew you, he'd walk away. But the truth is, he already knows. And he's not walking away. He's offering living water, the kind that washes your past, fills your soul, and never runs dry. So drop your jar and run to tell your story, because when Jesus meets you at the well, you leave different than you came.
This story reminds us that Jesus doesn't just see the best parts of us. He sees the broken parts, the hidden wounds, the shame we carry, and still calls us loved. His living water isn't just forgiveness, it's a new identity. In him, you're not who you were, you're who he says you are.
I was just a teenager with a dream. Not just any dream, one that came from heaven. But dreams don't always come easy. Sometimes they take you into darkness before they ever right. They hated me for it. My own brothers, the ones who should protected me, sold me, left me in a pit like I was nothing. And that's how it started. I landed in Egypt alone, unwanted, misunderstood, but I didn't give up. I served, I worked, I stayed faithful, and just when things started looking up, a lie sent me deeper down. Prison, forgotten, left behind for years. You ever feel like no one sees you? Like God gave you a dream, but then disappeared. But He was there in every prison, in every delay, in every night I cried myself to sleep. The dream wasn't dead, it was just being refined. Then suddenly the door opened, from the dungeon to the palace in one day. From prisoner to second in command, not because I deserved it, but because God had a plan bigger than betrayal. And now the same hands that sold me came back desperate for help, and I had the power to save them. I should have been bitter, but grace stood taller, and I looked them in the eye and said, what you meant for harm, God meant for good. Because when God writes the story, even your enemies become part of the rescue. So if you're in the pit, if you've been lied about, forgotten, delayed, hold on, the story isn't over. The dream may look buried, but it's just being planted. And one day you'll look back and say with confidence, what they meant for harm, God meant for good. Joseph's life reminds us that God's favor isn't always visible right away, but His hand is always working. Even in the waiting, the betrayal, the injustice, your calling isn't canceled because of delays. In fact, delays are often the training ground for destiny.